Good afternoon, everybody. NFL Divisional Round Playoff Preview. I'm Mark Drumheller here with Dave Gleckner, powered as always by the Sharp app. If you haven't downloaded the app, make sure you go and do so now. Discord as well. Links are in the description. Make sure you hop in there. Plenty of our professional handicappers are giving out picks this weekend for all the games, all the sports. But we're going to dig into the NFL here, Dave. And, we got 4 games left. We got 8 teams. The best of the best. The lines are tight this time of year. The books have, 20 weeks of data to go off of, right? It's not like you can pick off easy spots, like it was in the beginning of the year. So it gets a little bit tighter, and sometimes you got to get a little bit creative. But let's get into it. Let's start with the first game here. Jacksonville, after the big comeback win, heads out to Kansas City. Could have a little bit of weather, could have a little bit of snow, getting 9 points here against the Chiefs, who are coming off the bye. I played this one a couple different ways, Dave. I teased this down with Kansas City. I played some team total over, and I played full game over. How are you approaching this one?
Yeah, well, first, let me just open up by saying last time we did this, Mark, straight sweep of the national championship game. So,
that was a good one.
And let's go get that sweep again. Obviously, being on the Sharp app and coming from the Win Daily side, just an awesome place to get in Discord, chat with experts, and really get a feel of, where we're going. Don't always have to agree, but you can just get that knowledge and that data to help make you an informed decision. And my informed decision this weekend is the Chiefs. And I'm taking the Chiefs. I've locked them into 8. I've seen it grow to 9 lately, but the thought behind this process is pretty simple for me. The Chiefs haven't played great as double-digit favorites. They've had some weaknesses there, but they played this Jacksonville team earlier in the season, and it was actually the turning point for Jacksonville, where Doug Peterson looked at the men in the locker room when they went 3-7 coming off that loss of the game, said, we're going to be playing in Week 18 for something. And he was right. But did they would get back here? I'm not so sure of that. And let's look at that game, though, real quick. 27-17, low-scoring. Chiefs were -3 in the turnover battle and still won by 10. So I do think they're going to be able to find some ways. This isn't 27-0, LA Chargers. If the Chiefs get out early, I really feel like the pressure on Lawrence will really get to them. I love T-Law. I love Dougie P. I like what Jacksonville's building. This is an enormous step up. This is 3 stories step up from the Chargers, and I just think it might be a little too much to ask for a team that's a little green for playoff experience.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think, money's just going to kind of come in on Kansas City here. I think it's tough to back Jacksonville just because you look at the matchup and why, I kind of focused on Kansas City's team total and the full game overs because, Kansas City's offense, number 1 across the board. You can go, EPA per play, just scoring in general. Any metric you want to use, Kansas City is right up there at number 1. And Jacksonville's pass defense, 30th defensive DVOA. They're bad tackling, bottom 5 PFF grade in tackling. And also they don't do a good job covering tight ends. So that opens things up for Travis Kelce. I'm sure his props are getting hammered this week. So that's really just how I see this one. I just see there being a lot of points, especially on the Kansas City side, getting the team total over. I got it at 30.5. You can get that in some places. 31s are out there. But it's really, that's how I see this one going. Kansas City putting up a big number. Last year in the playoffs, they started by scoring 42 against, I believe it was Pittsburgh, and then 42 again against Buffalo in that crazy overtime game. So that one wasn't as high scoring as the score might make you to believe because it was back and forth at the end, but still, I don't think they're coming out flat here. I think they tattoo this Jaguars defense with a pretty big number in the high 30s or 40s. And, Jacksonville probably will call back. So, that's why I took the full game over. Their second half team make good second half adjustments. And Jacksonville did, these two teams both averaged 29.2 points per game during the last 5 weeks of the regular season. So that kind of shows you how good Jacksonville's offense has been rolling. So I took some over in this one, but I think we see a lot of points. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely.
Yeah,
so let's move on to
the. Just one more point for the Chiefs. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
No, go ahead. You got another one? Let it fire. You sure? Yeah, all right. So let's roll on to the next game now. Saturday night, David. You good? I think we're losing you on the volume. Yep. Your volume's okay? Okay. All right, perfect. So let's move on to the next game. We're going to Saturday night, Eagles Giants. This is another interesting one. We talk about Kansas City, and I talked about the teaser, right? So I did tease both these games down. I got Eagles under that key number. And I think that this is a fascinating game from a teaser perspective, because I think that a lot of people are going to be, a lot of people hit this teaser. It's very popular, getting both these teams off a bye, getting that number down, was, I think is still a solid approach. When we look at the market in general, like we saw the books move off of the teaser for Kansas City and kind of push it up to 9 now. Philly still staying at like 7.5, 8. And in this one, again, this was one where I didn't lay the number. I teased the Eagles down, played some Eagles -3.5 first half. That line's not available anymore. It's 4.5 in a lot of places. They probably got hit with that. And I just think top to bottom, the Eagles roster is much better than the Giants. I think we're getting fooled a little bit from the Giants playing the Vikings and playing that defense, and Daniel Jones being able to do some things that he's, really hasn't been able to do against the Eagles this season. So, Eagles outscored the Giants 40-7 in the first half, 2 games combined. And, I think they're going to come out and at least, score a lot on the Giants. And I don't know if the Giants are going to have a lot of offensive firepower to claw back.
I like it. The biggest fear in this game is the lack of momentum from Philadelphia. But if that's your only concern, I broke this down. You get a better quarterback, you get a better offensive line, you got a better receivers, better tight end, give them the running back. All right, so 4 out of 5 on offense. Then we go defense, better D line, better D backs, linebackers, coin flip.
Our linebackers are better. Our linebackers aren't good, but the Giants linebackers are atrocious, man.
True. True.
That's what I mean. Like Goddard, another guy to target from a prop perspective.
No, I'm with you. So we're giving us 9 out of 10. As special teams,
Yep.
We're both bad in some return areas. Kickers are probably pretty close. Gano's actually pretty decent. But if that's all you're worried about is momentum, then don't worry. And that's where I'm at with this game after thinking about it long and hard here. I do think I like the Eagles team total on this one. I've seen 27.5. It's crept up to 28.5 recently, but in their I've gone back as far as 10 meetings at the link. Eagles' lowest scoring output was 22 against the Giants. So, and those were with some bad offenses, some Carson Wentz's, So, I really do think the Eagles are going to be able to put up points in this game. And like you said, I think they're going to come out early. Backdoor's kind of open. A lot of trends go towards the Giants with the Eagles, the number 1 seed. There's a lot of factors that go into it. We look at Green Bay last year, losing at home outright in their first game off the bye. So there is some negative trends going against the number 1 seed. So I'm a little more nervous about maybe a backdoor, but I think the Eagles are that much better. We'll have that first half lead, and I do think they get to their team total points. So that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning first half like you and team total points.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the Giants, this is another, situation where you have a team really stepping up in competition. And, the Eagles, again, defensively, 70 sacks in the season, right? They sacked the Giants 7 times in that week 14 game where, the starters were in for both teams. So I think they're going to have a ton of success here. They're able to shut down Barkley. The Giants can't run. They really don't have anywhere to go here. I like Dable. I think he'll, have some, probably stuff, designed up to take, try and take advantage of the Eagles' aggressiveness, like maybe some misdirection, some stuff like that. But it might work early. But, I think eventually the Eagles' talent here is just going to kind of overwhelm them. I like them. I think, if you wanted to lay the 8 points, like I said, I think there's better ways to attack it. I kind of like the first half number better. But at 4.5, you're kind of in a dead zone, right? Because you kind of think what kind of score, you might as well take the 7 at that point. So I was hoping it went in the other direction. A bunch of Giants money came in, but you know what I mean, to get it, down to 7 or under 7. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But we'll see here. But I definitely do think, the Eagles are the side here, especially, coming off the bye and being well rested now. I don't know if the Giants, really have the firepower to keep up with this Eagles team.
And take into account that Jalen Hurts did not run in week 18 on purpose. So some people might look at that box score and say, hey, you know what? The Giants hung with the Eagles. It was 17-0 at half, if I remember right. And, the Eagles were 1 for 5 in the red zone. They're one of the better red zone teams. That's because he can run. So that's a stat that I think would change, appreciably coming Saturday night. I think they'll convert way more in the red zone, which gives you a little more confidence in that number of 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, that's kind of the way you look at it. Like when they played in week 14, it was 48-22, and it really wasn't even as close as the score indicated, even though it was a 26-point win. So I just think, listen, Giants done some great things. They got a bright future, you know what I mean? But I just don't think they have the horses, to keep up with the Eagles here. So, if I had to pick a side, I would lay it with the Eagles. But like I said, I think there's better ways to attack it than laying those points, or at least, ways that I chose to attack it. Teasing it down with the Chiefs, I think is kind of the best way, because I think both those favorites are going to come out and have, real big games. But let's go to Sunday now. This is, these are the games now. I think we're on the other side in a couple of them at least. So we'll start with the first one, which is Cincinnati, 5.5, and might be going up. News came out today, Jonas Williams definitely a no, Kappa definitely a no. So the offensive line is in shambles at Cincinnati. They're taking on Buffalo. I did play Cincinnati here. I play Joe Burrow every time he gets points, and I think that there's some value there with this number, even with the poor offensive line. But I'll let you kick this thing off. I know you like Buffalo in this matchup. Makes a lot of sense with the offensive line issues. I think it's really going to come down to the Bills' pass rush, which looks a lot better right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're frozen. Yeah, so we're not
the
getting
Bettors
some
will have
technical
to factor
difficulties here. You good? It looks like you're breaking up a little bit, Dave. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. Can you hear me now? You good?
Yeah. I'm with you.
Right,
the offensive line is going to be tricky, and it's going to be a problem, and it's going to be what Bettors have to factor in. Bills have created some pressure even without Von Miller. So I do think they can get there and get home. But Joe Burrow is so slick with how fast he can get the ball out, where he can get the ball out, and who he can get the ball out. It's an answer for it. But in the end, I think the Bills got out their scary game. I think the Bills, when they win, they typically win big. And I think I'm taking the angle that Josh Allen, DeMar Hamlin's going to be in the locker room. That's some motivation. And Josh Allen, came off his highest turnover game in the playoffs. He'll get that corrected. A couple unlucky bounces. I think the Bills will have enough to pull away late. I think this game's going to be great. I think everybody that bets Cincinnati will feel like they had this game, and the Bills get one just late to cover this 5.5.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the pass rush. I feel like if they can get the Burrow, Cincinnati's going to have a lot of problems. But I just think that they, Burrow be able to kind of spread them out. He has the weapons with Boyd, Higgins, Chase, to where he can kind of, get the ball out early on the Buffalo defense. We'll have to see. Obviously, Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott, great defensive coaches. But it's really the other side of the ball where I think is going to be the big difference. And I do think that Lou Anarumo's defense is going to really frustrate Josh Allen, much like he's been able to frustrate Patrick Mahomes. And I think Allen is a quarterback that has a lot less patience than a guy like Mahomes. So I think, the way I see this game going down is Cincinnati coming out, driving down the field, getting out to a big lead like they've done, the past 4 games. They went up 9-0 on the Ravens, 17-0 on the Week 18 game against the Ravens, and then 22-0 against New England, the game before they played the Bills. In that game against the Bills, they drove right down the field and scored. So I think if Cincinnati gets out to a big lead, which again is, we're making an assumption here, but if they do get out to a big lead, I think you're going to see Allen press against this defense that is going to take away the big play. So there's going to be no Stephon Diggs 30 yards down the field. Like, those plays are going to be taken away, and Allen's going to have to kind of matriculate and take the underneath stuff. It's going to be a lot of Cole Beasley. It's going to be a lot of and if they're down and he's feeling pressure, I think we could see him get really frustrated, start making some mistakes and some turnovers. Does lead the NFL in interceptions now, for including the playoffs at 16. Obviously, it's not fair. Some of these quarterbacks are not in the playoff field, but second in the NFL in interceptions during the year with 14, and had 2 more against Miami. So I think there's a chance here that the Bengals can hang in there, even with the offensive line issues. I just thought anything over a field goal with Burrow in this spot, I want to decide with Burrow. But again, the Bills are the most talented team in the NFL. I feel like from a roster perspective, they're the preseason favorites for a reason. So I can't argue with anyone who wants to back them. But, that was kind of my reasoning for taking the Bengals here. If they can get out to a big lead, that defense is going to make Josh Allen miserable. And it may force them into mistakes. And we know turnovers are crucial here. But it's going to be a fun game either way. Any idea on the total, Dave? I did not touch the total. Not sure what to think about it. Part of me thinks, hey, you know what? Allen's going to have to take the short stuff. Burrow's going to have to, throw the short stuff because the heat's going to be coming because the offensive line's not there. Does that lead to an under? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I lean under. I just have seen what the Bengals have done in their past 5 playoff games. And for them to win these types of games, they've really played a very conservative, short passing game. Think about the Titans game last year, number 1 seed, right? Very similar. They even played that type of game against Kansas City. Cloud defense, nothing behind them, like you said. So I think if Cincinnati dictates the game, they do stay under the total in this one. They've been very persistent in how they've played these good teams and how they played them defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I would lean under for sure in this one. Didn't touch it though, full disclosure, but did back Burrow. I'm gonna take the points, man. The guy just covers all the time, so I'm one of those guys. I go up to the roulette wheel, man, and if it's all red, I'm betting red. I'm not betting black. I'm betting red till it stops paying out, and then once it stops paying out, I'll get off the bus. And that's kind of how I feel with Burrow and the Bengals. Just continues to prove the market wrong. Pretty much all season and in the playoffs. So last year, so. I'm going to take a stab there, but it's going to be an awesome game. I also hope the Bengals win because I'm tired of this, neutral field nonsense. They're trying to take the home. They want to do it like going forward now. Florio put out some stuff saying that might be the plan going forward.
Awful. Then what do you play?
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Like brutal just for the fans, for the communities, for the cities. Like it's just absolutely terrible. They're just ripping money out of these cities' pockets. Just awful. But, we could probably do a whole nother show on that one. So let's wrap up here with the last one. We got Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, big win over Tampa. Are they back? Do we get good Cowboys, bad Cowboys? Catching 4 points against the Niners, who've been completely unstoppable. 11 straight wins, 9 straight wins at home. Brock Purdy, it has Trey Lance on Instagram. What was it? Who was it? The Titans GM got hired, and he had that on the Instagram. So I wonder if he's going to be looking for a new home. But regardless, San Francisco seems like the unstoppable force here. I took a little bit of Dallas. Basically, real quickly, the handicap is more of just about, I think the 49ers defense can be had through the vertical passing. I think we saw that with DK Metcalf. I think we saw it, when they played the Raiders with Jarrett Stidham. They had 4 receivers who had receptions of 20 yards or more. Stidham threw for 365 yards. And the Niners are 28th in EPA per dropback in the last 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks, they played Stidham. They played Blau and McSorley when they played Arizona, and they played Geno Smith. So, not really the elite of the elite. They're going to get a Cowboys offense that's been humming. It's playing with a lot of confidence. So I thought they were worth a stab here at the 4 points. But I think you're on the other side here, Dave, with the Niners, which, again, they keep paying out. So why not?
Yeah, I tell you the truth. I really think Dallas can win this game outright. When you think a team can win outright, you definitely take the points. But what I will say is I just think Tampa Bay has zero ability to rush the quarterback or pressure the quarterback. And that's where I think it'll be a lot different with San Francisco. Washington actually has a very quality defensive line. Even without Chase Young, they were able to, do some things this year in the run game and also create some pressures. And I think that's similar to what San Fran wants to do here. Washington not great in the back. San Fran not great in the back. So I saw some similarities in the defensive styles, and that's what frustrated Dak recently. So I'm going back to the point. I think Shanahan will be very creative enough offensively to create run plays. And getting Eli Mitchell back, I think, is huge for them. They can hit him with, power and finesse in a way, fire and ice. But offensively, on Dallas, and I think in the end, I think the defense will get home just enough to cover this number.
Yeah, I think, listen, and San Francisco is a team, when they win by margin. So, I just thought it was a little rich to 4, worth a shot. We'll see if Dallas can get their kicking game straightened out, but it's going to be an awesome game. Any idea on the total? I'm kind of leaning over, but I think, if it's an under, I think that it's definitely San Francisco. But I think this is going to be another over. I think we see a lot of points here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think there's enough volatility on the defenses, even though everybody loves them some Micah Parsons, loves them some Bosa. There's some ability for these two teams to attack those defenses the right way. I like the over as well.
Yeah, they can get it moving. So interesting stuff. So it's going to be a fun one. And maybe part of it I want Dallas just because subconsciously I would love to get Dallas in the NFC Championship being an Eagles fan. Wouldn't be I mean, what a better road to the Super Bowl than beating the Giants and Dallas in the playoffs. But might be wishful thinking on my part. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan has a lot to say about that. We're going to find out on Sunday. But listen, great card, and we will be back during the week to talk about the results and, hit what we expect to happen. But in the meantime, guys, if you haven't, download the Sharp app. AI prediction models on there for every sport. College basketball, these guys are hitting all the time. Our top props content has been off the charts, firing off basketball winners on the hardwood. So get in there, get in the Discord. Link is below. They will set you up with all the information you need. And also download the app. That's where you get the best odds. So you go into the game. It shows you all the odds for the sports book. It gives you the consensus odds. It gives you the best odds for whatever side. So if you like the Eagles, it'll give you the books that have the 7.5. If you like the Giants, it'll give you the books with the 8. So hop on the Sharp app today. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and we'll see you next week.